A couple of nights ago, not my usual video, has to be said. I'll get to the subject at hand in a minute. A couple of nights ago, I had a dream. Well, I had two dreams. Well, one was about football, and the other one is none of your business. But I was at a game at West Ham Man U with Charlie. And it was this is the first Charlie knows about this, by the way. I didn't tell him. It's all right, Charlie. Don't get saucy or anything. Right. We're at the game, and it's at the London Stadium, which is weird because it was this season. We needed to win the game. It was a big, massive game. But we were at the London Stadium, but the London Stadium was like twice the size of what it is, and we got lost, and we got so lost we couldn't find our seats, and we were just trying to find some other places to sit, which you would think would have been easy enough, bearing in mind it's 120,000 seat stadium, the London Stadium in my dream head, right? But we got lost, and by the time we found our seats, it was the second half, but we couldn't have a very good view because someone had built this wall in the way. It's my head, it's messed up, I know, but West Ham won 6-1. Now, I don't know if anyone believes in all that stuff and believes in dreams. I don't believe in much of all that. But 6-1 win to West Ham. Now, I know there's some discrepancies, but I thought it was worth sharing with you, just in case the football does ever resume. We do ever play Manchester United at the London Stadium. And just in case all the betting companies are not gone bust. Little sneaky one. Little sneaky 20 pence on West Ham to win 6-1. You never know, but you'd be gutted if you didn't, wouldn't you? Let's be fair. Me having said that. I'm only joking. Don't bet, and certainly don't bet on my say-so. Anyway, what was I going to discuss? I actually had it written down here. Right, it looks like West Ham are today going to vote against the continuation of the Premier League. They want to void the season. The reason for, I don't think it's their change of heart, but we discussed yesterday about Brighton player testing positive. It seems that Todd Cantwell, who's a very good player for Norwich, has tweeted something or other indicating that players are only human after all, which is a song, and they can't be expected to go in and remain immune to it. And the closer we get to this situation where players are expected to go in, the more of players like Cantwell and Lanzini and Cresswell and players we've discussed before are going to start coming out of the woodworks. They're just keeping quiet at the moment. Why would you? Why would you say unless you absolutely had to? So anyway, with that in mind, I'm sort of looking at the mindset of the player and the situation whereby, well, there's two things really, and it's really what their families at home are going to be thinking. And I think just a lot of their families are going to say, we don't want you to go in. We don't want you to do it. Not all of them, but enough to make a difference. And it sort of got me thinking about players overall and how this may impact not just the resumption of this Premier League, but when things get up and running. Because even once things get up and running, everything is not going to return back to normal for quite some time. I think we can see that. Boris Johnson announced a load of these measures leading up until the end of July, but not in any one of those measures did he say it was all your current household. Not at any point did he say you're going to go and be able to drive and see your family who don't live with you. Everything will be good again. None of that was happening. It was still social distancing must be maintained, so on and so forth. If the scales start to tip the wrong side of the balance, then we'll shut it all down again. We'll put the brakes on, were his words. And I think there's a lot of people, a lot of players now tied into contracts that they probably don't want to be in anymore. If you were sort of unhappy at a club, anyway, this may well have tipped the balance. If you were far away from home and didn't like it that much anyway, this may well have tipped the balance, and so on and so forth. And I've often wondered, as somebody, I've got 4 kids, and if I got a job, and I were to say to my missus, I've got a job, it's up the other end of the country, or it's in a foreign land, I want to go and do it, then I think pretty much the first conversation we would have to have would be about the kids' schools. And I would imagine it'd be along the lines of, well, I don't want you to take the kids out of school. They've made their friends. They've It's a massive upheaval for them. And I do look at footballers and I always have wondered how they can move, spend 2 years at a club. You know, you might move to the northeast, you might then move to London, you might move to Manchester. It's a lot of upheaval for children, for young families. And I've always thought it's a hell of a sacrifice for the kids to make and for the partners to make. But it's a sacrifice which realistically you've taken. You take that disruption to your children's lives so as you can become a multi-millionaire. That's the trade-off. And I just wonder, I think you'd be mad to think that within the realms of that conversation, whatever, a bid's, pick your team. A bid's just come in from Everton. We're going to be moving to Merseyside. I don't want to move to Merseyside. The kids are established. My parents are here. Your parents are here. I don't want to. But come on. It's 150 grand a week, so on and so forth. Within the confines of that conversation, there's going to be a lot of stress. There's going to be a lot of tension. And I just wonder how much of that is going to play out now, because now there's another factor to consider. It's not just schools. It's not just that. It's a case of, do we want to move? Do we want to move somewhere far away from your kids' schools, from that safety net of family, and for where your folks might live? Do you really want to find yourself isolated in one part of the country if it all kicks off like this again? Particularly if you are already a multi-millionaire, you're a millionaire, if you're just well off. And I look at the foreign players, and beforehand the allure was, let's say you were at a club like Valencia. There would be a massive allure to, if you were on, say, 20 grand a week at Valencia, to come even over to England and earning 75 grand a week. That would be a massive incentive to do so. But I just wonder now, because I do think we're going to be in a high state of quarantine for many, many years to come. I really do. It's just announced it today, Boris Johnson is going to be 14-day quarantine. I think that's going to be the norm. I just think air travel, everything is going to be very, very, very much changed. So even if you were a player from a foreign country and you were living over here and it all sort of kicked off again, you're not going to be able to go home very quickly or very easily. I think at that point, bearing in mind you're 20 grand a week in Spain, you're 20,000 euros a week, whatever it might be, it's still a lot of money. You still get to live a very, very good standard of life for doing that. And I do wonder if you will get to a point with football, whether or not players will think, is it worth doing it? I'm well off. If I do it, then I become 3 times richer. Because obviously you've got to pay tax, you've got to pay other bits and pieces as well. 3 times richer. And put myself in a situation where I'm going to really stress my family out. The upheaval, the moving to a foreign country, the changing the kids from school. And it just made me think, I may be totally wrong, but are we going to see a mindset switch in the players where actually they do listen to their partners, they listen to their loved ones more? When they're saying, we don't want you to go and work abroad. As a family, we don't want to move over there. There are some, like Jose Mourinho, who's I think he came over here to Chelsea, didn't he, from Portugal. I think he set up once. Apart from that, I don't think his family, his kids, I think his kids are grown up now, but they never left. They never left London. Pellegrini, our own Manuel Pellegrini, is another famous example. Latterly, when his son Juan grew up, he took him on as a scout. But by and large, the majority of Pellegrini's career, his family stayed in Chile. His wife has always stayed in Chile. I think you've got the same with Rafa Benitez as well, by the way. I don't think Rafa Benitez's wife followed him to China. I think something like she still lives in Merseyside or something like that. And I just wonder how much of that is actually going to happen where people are prepared to leave their families. Because are you going to want to? If that's you, you can have all the tea in China. You can have all the money in the world. All the tea in China is not a particularly good expression to use at the moment, is it? You can have all the money in the world. All the tea in Yorkshire, let's say. And it ain't going to matter a jot. It's really not. If you get separated from your family, if you're not near your family, local support group, your family doctor, and all of those things which are important to you. And for that reason, that aside from the fact I started the video talking about a dream with myself and Charlie and a giant brick wall and a hefty 6-1 win, by the way. With that in mind, I do wonder if we're just going to see less transfers over big distances and just more and more local players in their teams. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this all blows over. Maybe in 3 or 4 years they find a vaccine and it all and everything goes back to normal. Maybe it does. But until that happens, I do think once these contracts are done, people are going to break their contracts, by the way, at some point over the next 6 months. Clubs are going to try and hold some people their contracts. Some players are not going to want to play. Once all the dust settled, 6 months' time, a year, I just wonder if you might see a lot more local players playing for their local teams.